Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Wednesday, August the 28th. We're going to look at the 11-game main slate. There is an early today, but it's only 2 games, I believe, and I don't plan on playing it, so we're just going to look at the night slate for today, cover these 11 games. We'll start off with pitching. I'll be sure to work my way through the pitcher-player pool, talk about all the guys that stand out to me, the options that I like, that I feel like I'm going to be rostering. Then we'll look at 3 specific hitters I really like, and then towards the end of the video, we'll look at some stacks and we'll talk about some BVP plays as well. But before we do get started, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. And if you are new to the channel, if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you do click that subscribe button down below. I believe we're getting very close to 15,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. Honestly, by the time you're watching this video, we might have already hit it. So thank you guys so much for 15K. That's just a crazy number. Really never thought I'd get that amount of subscribers when I started doing these YouTube videos. We just keep gaining subs, just keep getting bigger and bigger, and it's all thanks to you guys. So I really do appreciate it. But let's go ahead and look at this 11-game slate. Start off with pitching. So at the top of the pitcher-player pool, Garrett Cole is our most expensive option on DraftKings today. He is $12,200. Over on Yahoo, Garrett Cole is actually not the most expensive pitcher. Max Scherzer is. Scherzer is $63 and Cole is $60. So just pricing on DraftKings, I think Max Scherzer is by far the best option. He's $1,200 cheaper than Cole. He's in a great matchup at home against the Orioles. Cole's in a decent spot, I guess you could say, against the Rays. I didn't really play much Justin Verlander on Tuesday night. I don't plan on playing a ton of Cole here. Just the matchup, the price tag, I don't feel like I need to pay that for Garrett Cole when we have Scherzer in a great spot for cheaper. So I'm going to be going to Scherzer on DraftKings. Even on Yahoo, where Cole is cheaper than Scherzer, I still think I prefer Max, just given the matchup against the Orioles. Such a good spot. This Orioles team versus right-handed pitching does have a lot of strikeouts in its lineup. Very low total for the Orioles right now, just a 3 implied run total. Scherzer is a very heavy favorite at minus 391. It's very likely he's able to pick up a win here. Scherzer, he should just be able to dominate this lineup. There's going to be a lot of righties. If there's anything that Max does struggle with, it's lefties with power, and you don't really have that in this Orioles lineup. VR has a little bit of power, but not really. Santander, a little bit of power, but not much. And then DJ Stewart, Stevie Wilkerson don't really have much power. And then there's just a lot of righties that will strike out. So I love Max Scherzer here. He's my number 1 guy today. Definitely going to be the guy that I go to at SP1 if I'm paying up. Noah Syndergaard, he's going to be someone I avoid here against the Cubs. He's just so closely priced to Max Scherzer. For $600 difference, there's just no reason to go to Syndergaard. It's not a great matchup either. I don't think Syndergaard really has the K upside that Scherzer does. If Syndergaard was maybe like $2,000 cheaper, then I could see going to him. But where there's only a $600 difference, just give me Max over Syndergaard. And then the same can kind of be said for like all these guys in the 9K range, like Odorizzi, Hendricks, Yarbrough, Rourke. It's really no need to pay for these guys, like unless you're just really going to pay up for bats, like if you're trying to stack cores or stack the Red Sox and you want to use one of these guys as your SP1. But if you're going for like a cheap stack, I don't think you need to pay for one of these guys as your SP2. I think the builds today is probably going to be to go to like the 7K range for SP2. Pair them with either like Scherzer or Cole, or you could use one of these 7K guys as your SP1 and then really pay down at pitcher and get in some expensive bats. But for SP2, the guy that really stands out to me is Anthony DeSclafani. He's pretty cheap on both sites. On DraftKings, he's only $7,800. On Yahoo, he's down here at $37. He's probably going to be the guy that I go to the most today at SP2 to pair with Max Scherzer. It's a very favorable matchup, obviously, against the Marlins. This is a Marlins team that versus right-handed pitching is just really bad. They don't get on base. They strike out plenty. Plus, the Marlins do have a lot of righties, and DeSclafani, just throughout his career, has always been much better versus righties than lefties. If there's one thing he does struggle with, it's left-handed hitters, especially left-handed hitters that have power. And you don't really get that in this Marlins lineup. The only 2 lefties in the projected lineup are Neil Walker and Isan Diaz, and both of those guys are not good hitters. Very low total for the Marlins, 3.7 implied run total. Really good spot for DeSclafani. He's a pretty talented pitcher. He's not like a gas can by any means. When he gets the right matchup, he can definitely put up pretty good outings. This is obviously a good matchup facing the Marlins. in a great pitcher's park in Marlins Park. So I'm going to like DeSclafani a lot. I'm going to be going to him a lot at SP2 today. You pair him with Scherzer, and that still leaves you $3,900 remaining per player for DraftKings, which you can definitely work around today. And on Yahoo, that leaves you $12 remaining per player, which you should be able to work around as well. But now going to some of these other options, just some other guys that I think are going to be in my player pool. I think Patrick Sandoval against the Rangers is going to be a guy that I have in my player pool. Just such a good matchup. The Rangers versus left-handed pitching have been terrible this year. On Yahoo, I really like Sandoval as a cheap option. He's all the way down here at $28. For sure going to be someone I look to if I'm trying to get in an expensive stack. You could definitely consider Sandoval at 28 on Yahoo. So I like him. I think Fultonevich against the Blue Jays makes some sense. It's $7,400 if you want to go to him. Aaron Savale gets to face the Tigers for $7K. Savale's actually been pretty good this year, so if you want to go to Savale, I feel like he's going to be a pretty popular SP2. Him and DeSclafani in that mid-range are probably going to be the two guys that a lot of people look to, and for good reason. Obviously, the Tigers versus right-handed pitching are one of the worst teams in the league. And then under 7K, really the only guy I like under 7K is Alcantara at $6,800 against the Reds. Reds aren't that scary of a matchup. It's a great pitcher's park. Alcantara's not a bad pitcher. He's actually decent. So at $6,800, you could definitely go to him. I think I'd rather get the $200 and play Savale against the Tigers, but if you're really trying to save, or if you want to play both of those guys together, Savale and Alcantara, and then load up on the bats, I could see doing that on this slate because there are some good expensive stacks that we want to get to. But that is pretty much it for pitching. I think I covered all the pitchers that I feel like I'm going to be playing today. So let's go ahead and look at some hitters now. I want to start off with the Indians. The Indians are a team I like quite a bit here against Jordan Zimmermann. Jordan Zimmermann has never been a pitcher I've believed in. I just don't think he's that good. He really hasn't been that good this year. He's been better lately. Just his last few starts, he's actually been okay. Like against the Astros, he went 5 innings, only allowed 3 hits, 2 runs. He pitched 5 shutout innings against the Rays. He pitched 6 innings against the Rangers, did allow 4 runs in that start. 2 runs through 5 1/3 against the Angels. Now he has to face the Indians, a team that does have a lot of power. Just top to bottom, pretty much 1 through 6, there's a lot of power in this lineup with Lindor, Mercado, Santana, Puig, Kipnis, Reyes. All can hit home runs. Roberto Perez, if he's in the lineup, he has some power. Right now, it looks like Plawecki's going to be the catcher, but if Perez is catching, he's the guy you could look to for power. 5.5 implied run total is not the highest on the slate. It's not even towards the top, so I don't think the Indians are going to be that popular. But I really like 2 guys in the DraftKings, or 2 guys for DraftKings, Puig and Kipnis. Both are very cheap. Puig is only $4,100. Kipnis is only $3,700. Both of these guys have a ton of power versus right-handed pitching. I do like them a lot going to them on DraftKings as a Cleveland stack. On Yahoo, the pricing's a bit tougher, but you still do have a lot of guys in the outfield for pretty cheap. Like Puig's at 15. I think Mercado's at like 13. I think there's another guy, Franmil Reyes, I believe is pretty cheap. Just look at the Indians pricing on Yahoo real quick. Like Puig at 15, 14 for Reyes, 13 for Mercado. I like a lot. But the guys, rest of the lineup's not that cheap. Like Lindor's 23, which is pretty expensive. Mike Freeman and Chang could be 2 guys you look to depending on who's in the lineup. Freeman's 14, Chang's 12. But Kipnis is 19 on Yahoo, which is pretty expensive. Santana's 26, which is very expensive. Mostly the outfield from the Indians is what I like on Yahoo, but on DraftKings, their pricing kind of top to bottom is pretty cheap. Reyes, 4K, $3,700 for Kipnis, $4,100 for Puig, only $4,400 for Mercado. Lindor and Santana, both under 5K. I like the Indians a lot here versus Jordan Zimmermann, and I like their pricing quite a bit. And then another team I'm going to be looking to are the Rockies. I do like the Rockies here versus Erod. Erod's a pretty talented pitcher, but this is just not a good spot for him, having to face the Rockies in Coors Field. Rockies only with a 5.9 implied run total, which is honestly a bit lower than I expected. But there's still some really good bats in this lineup that can hit left-handed pitching well. Specifically, Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, and Ian Desmond. Ian Desmond I like quite a bit, whether you're stacking the Rockies or you just want to use him as a one-off. He's very cheap on both sites. He's only 4K on DraftKings, and on Yahoo he's only $11 in the outfield. He's a guy that I'm going to be going to quite a bit as a one-off today. Kind of the same thing can be said like with Desmond and the Rockies, like with the Indians. Desmond's really cheap in that Rockies lineup, but then the other guys are pretty expensive. On Yahoo, we'll look at their pricing real quick. Like you have Charlie Blackmon's 21. Sam Hilliard, if he cracks the lineup, he's pretty cheap. Dodds to crack the lineup, he's pretty cheap. But Blackmon's really expensive. Story is 24, so he's really expensive. Arenado at 25 is really expensive. Even Wright McMahon at 20, lefty's really expensive. Daniel Murphy's pretty cheap. If he's in the lineup, he's only $13, even though it's lefty. You could look to him. You do have a cheap catcher play in either Dom Nunez or Tony Walters. But I really like Desmond where he's only $11. This guy's been very good versus left-handed pitching this year, especially in cores. So I really like him as a one-off from the Rockies. If you are going to target hitters against Erod, you do want to do it with right-handed hitters. So we went over DraftKings. These are my 5 plays for DraftKings. Now to fill out my 5 for Yahoo, I do like Patrick Sandoval today, but I think there is a guy on Yahoo that stands out. Shortstop, Elvis Andrus, still dirt cheap. He's only $11. He's definitely going to be in consideration for me as my cash game shortstop, as a cheap shortstop to use, as a one-off. I'm not going to be looking to stack the Rangers here. Low total, 4.4 implied run total. Not a really good lineup versus left-handed pitching. But Andrus this year has been good versus lefties. Santana's been good versus lefties. But other than those two guys, a lot of these guys in this lineup have struggled versus left-handed pitching this year. So it is a really good spot for Patrick Sandoval. But I do like Andrus over on Yahoo where he's only $11. Just too cheap. The shortstop position, if you're not paying up for like Story, Lindor, or Bogarts, it's tough to find any good value here. I guess you could go to like Javier Baez against Noah Syndergaard if you wanted to do that. You could definitely do that for $2 more. But if you're going to cheap, or if you're looking for cheap value at shortstop, Andrus does stand out as $11 as a potential value. But these are my 5 plays for Yahoo, 5 plays for DraftKings. Let's go ahead and look at some stacks, and then we'll talk about some BVP for you in the video. So I didn't talk about any Red Sox bats versus Peter Lambert, but the Red Sox are definitely a good stack here. Right now they have the highest total on the slate by far. It's at 7.8 runs, very high total. I do expect Lambert to struggle here. He's been really bad this year. This is a tough spot for him facing the Red Sox. Only issue is that the Red Sox are incredibly expensive. Like every hitter, 1 through 5 is over 5K. Vasquez is almost 5K. Moreland's over 5K. Brock Holt is kind of cheap at $4,400, but if you're paying for the Red Sox, like a 5-man Red Sox stack, you're probably going to have to play 2 really, really cheap pitchers. And I do want to try and get as much Max Scherzer as I can today. So that's kind of when it's going to be a bit tough to use the Red Sox, but if I can use them as like a 2-man or 3-man stack, I'll for sure be looking to do that. It's definitely a spot where they should have some success versus Peter Lambert. But the 2 teams I really like are definitely the Indians. I like a lot. I like some of these Rockies bats versus Erod because they are a little bit cheaper than the Red Sox, especially like Desmond's really cheap, Daza's really cheap. It makes it easier to stack the it makes it easier to stack the Rockies when you can get those guys or those great value plays. Minimum salary on Yahoo is Daza, $11 for Desmond. It allows you to get to Story and Arenado when you have those guys for very cheap in the outfield. But I mentioned the Indians. I like a ton here. Definitely could look to some Nationals versus Wojciechowski. Don't think that's my favorite stack, though, because they are also pretty expensive. And if I'm going to pay it for a stack, I'm probably just going to go to the Rockies or the Red Sox. But the Nationals do have a pretty high total, 6.2 implied run total against Wojciechowski. But a value stack I want to talk about, the Angels versus Gerardo, I think makes some sense. Ariel Gerardo just not been that good this year. He's really struggled to righties. This lineup does have a lot of right-handed power with Trout. Upton has some power. Pujols has shown some power this year. Simmons has a tiny bit of power. Not a lot of power from David Fletcher, but he doesn't really strike out either. He's going to put the ball in play. This is a really cheap stack that has upside. Fletcher's only 4K, Calhoun 4,300, Upton 3,900, Simmons 3,700, 5.7 implied run total for the Angels. They are definitely a value stack you could consider. But I think that's it for stacks today, guys. Let's go ahead and look at some BVP real quick before we end the video. So starting off with Jason Kipnis, got some good BVP off Jordan Zimmerman, 8 for 13. Carlos Santana, 3 for 12 with a home run off Jordan Zimmerman. Starling Castro, 5 for 16, a home run off Anthony DeSclafani. Tommy Pham, 8 for 15, a home run off of Garrett Cole. And then lastly, down here at the bottom, Cole Calhoun does have some BVP off Gerardo, 5 for 10 with the home run. But that's it for BVP, guys, and I think that is it for the video. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop a like down below before you get out of here. I would really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, or like always, you can hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT if you do have any questions. But good luck tonight, guys. Appreciate you watching the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.